Hello, English 215 students. Welcome to our online course. My name is Dr. Martin. I will be teaching this course for you, and I look forward to doing so. This is an asynchronous online course. You have no required meetings with me. I try to respond quickly to students, though, so please contact me if I can help you in any way. So the introductory lecture for this course, I'll try to do them nearly every week, would be based upon the readings you're doing this week. Focusing more so on Ovid and on the Thor fishing story, simply because these two will be the first ones on your forthcoming essay. You also have a piece called The Gentleman's Recreation in 4 parts. It is from the early 1700s. It's basically a British manual written by rich upper class white men who talk about the art of hunting in England. And if you can, and what I'd like you to do, this is part of your post for the week, like just scroll through the book and look at some of the illustrations and look at some of the chapters. For example, there's a chapter on fowling. Fowling is basically shooting with a rifle for fowl, for a bird. And look at the ways that the portrayal of fishing and hunting is used there. There's sections on hunting with hares, that is rabbits. There are sections on hunting for bucks, that is deer. Look at the practices. Look at the way that they use particular frames for fishing and hunting. Look at the instruments they're using and so forth. So the two things that I'd ask that you look for this semester as you read these pieces on literature of hunting and fishing would be A, the actual art of fishing and hunting as displayed in each one. Look at the ways that, in this respect, what type of rifles are used. Is there a harpoon used, like in Moby Dick? What time period, what culture is this coming from, right? So you're looking at the actual art of fishing and hunting and the way that it's depicted. In Yermolai and the Miller's Wife by the Russian writer Ivan Turgenev, you're looking at something called stand shooting, right? It's basically with what you and I would consider with it's not a rifle, but it's a gun that's like that. How does that depict particular cultural practices local to Russian culture, in this instance, associated with hunting? Who does the hunting? Is it the rich? Is it the working class? It's usually the working class. Is it the middle class? Do men do it? Do women do it? That kind of thing. And the actual physical things that they use, the instruments they use for hunting. The other thing that I'd like you to be open towards is that a lot of these works are epic in scope, including the brief excerpt from Moby Dick we'll be reading. Try to think of hunting and fishing as maybe being a metaphor, an allegory, that is a comparison of one thing to another, for something else entirely. When we read William Faulkner's great Mississippi hunting piece, The Bear, in just a couple weeks, like, what is the protagonist really looking for in the Mississippi woods over the years? My idea would be look for the metaphorical and the symbolic import of animals and the art of hunting and fishing. Sometimes my point to you is I don't think they're talking about fishing and hunting as much as they're talking about this is just a guess, the search for a higher power, the search for something beyond humankind, that thing in life that is ineffable, we can't actually get to. It's those kind of things that I think are being set up there. So besides reading the Turgenev story is the longest piece this week. Gentleman's Recreation in 4 parts, very brief. What I'm asking you, it's long, but I'm asking you just to find one section. But the 2 pieces that you should know about, and which I'll end this discussion with, will be Ovid's Actaeon and the Hunt, and then you have Thor and the fishing for Jorgamund. Let's start with Actaeon and the Hunt. It's by the Greek and Roman poet Ovid, and it's from his book on Metamorphosis, which is a series of transformations. So he's looking at basically literary depictions of beings transformed into other beings. So you've got Actaeon, who is getting water. He's hunting with his hounds. Note the way that they're hunting, right? Is this the way that hunting practices happened then? Is this the way the hunting practices now? And he accidentally has an encounter with a goddess who is also going to the same water hole. For Actaeon, this means what would you call it? Exile and punishment, transformation. I don't want to tell you what happens in the story, but there's a divine element to it, right? So there's some type of divine component associated with hunting. Look at the way that the reversal happens, and look at if there's a moral lesson. Like, well, it's kind of hard. He accidentally sees this goddess bathing naked. The idea would be, and I'm asking you this in your first essay, is there a moral lesson embedded in these stories? Like, what is it? Like, something we're supposed to glean from it. The second story, and I know that's a quick setup of Actaeon and the Hunt. I don't want to tell you too much about it. Is a very short one, not from Greek and Roman civilization, but instead from Norse civilization, from a figure you know from watching the Marvel movies, and that's Thor. You'll see the same personal characteristics of Thor that we see in the Marvel movies. He's impetuous at times, immature, quick-tempered. But the way I could set up what Jormungand is to him, it's basically his serpent enemy in some respects. And look at the way that when he's going with this man that he's fishing with, it's a short story. There's not much to it, honestly. Again, I don't want to give too much away, but look for the ways that they are using fishing. Look for Thor's anger management issues. Look for the way that the civilization welcomes him and the way that Thor kind of interacts like as almost a diplomat with this civilization. It's water, so it's different than hunting on land with Actaeon and the Hunt. You may want to mention some of that at the beginning of your essay. Is there a moral lesson? You may want to take that into account, as you should take that into account for your first essay as well, and how you arrived at those conclusions. One is like Norse. When I say Norse, we're talking about Finland, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, those parts of Northern Europe. And so look for some of the cultural beliefs that maybe are inherent in that, like what does Norse culture think of the gods and fishing and hunting. Same thing with Greek and Roman civilization with Actaeon and the Hunt. So try to think of these two stories. I call them fairy tales in a way, these two fantastic tales in tandem. You're comparing them for your first essay, which is due next week. But good luck with the readings this week. I'll try to have a recorded lecture each week. Take care.